These kids aren't all right. What do I mean by that? I mean that 1 in 4 12th graders are regular users of illicit drugs, as reported by govinfo.gov. And our current model in place in counteracting the drug addiction epidemic is the arrest, charge, and jailing model of all participants in the drug market, seller and user. And in an article published by the NPR.org, Mike Schmidt, district attorney for Oregon, stated that criminalization keeps people in the shadows. It keeps people from seeking out help, from telling their doctors, from telling their family members that they have a problem. And we all know in order for there to be a crime, there has to be a victim. And we don't punish the woman for being abused by her violent husband. So why do we see it fit to punish the victims of drug addiction and substance abuse? I've seen firsthand why punishing these individuals is perhaps the most unproductive method for helping them stay away from drugs. You see, I went to a strict private school in Jacksonville, Florida, where over the course of 4 years, I saw kids fall into the depths of addiction and depression. The school then later adopted a zero tolerance policy, and when dealing with the situation where a student failed a drug test, the student was asked to leave. The deans kicked them out and went on with their life, now having no ties or communication with these kids. I'm sure they hoped they would get better. Though I can tell you otherwise, as a student at that school, I saw each and every one of these students who were kicked out spiral out of control and become slaves to addiction, most of whom have not recovered. This is representative of the result of our government's treatment of victims of the drug market in our society as a whole. The drug epidemic is unwinnable by war. And as reported by Vera Institute of Justice.org, around 65% of voters are for ending the war on drugs. And as it is evident that in the 50 years that it has been since former President Richard Nixon implemented our current model of arrest, charge, and jail, it has only led to the incarceration of millions of Americans while simultaneously having no evidence that it has made America safer and healthier. Though the question is now, where do we go from here? I believe the decriminalization of illicit substances should be implemented, though not to be confused with the legalization of illicit substances. I still believe those responsible for the manufacturing and distribution should be held accountable for their actions in the court of law. And just recently, I saw one of these students who was struggling with substance abuse get arrested for possession. He bailed out, and his addiction is still there. Though now his life has changed forever, and he will have much trouble finding a job as a result of this. So what was the benefit in jailing him? What decriminalization could have done for this young man is give him the resources and treatment needed to get his life back on track, though instead he was treated the same as the men and women arrested for the distribution and manufacturing of these drugs, and future employers will forever see him in that way, as the perpetrator and not the victim. One argument against decriminalization is that it would lower the deterrent barriers to entry and increase the supply of drugs, which would in turn increase the use of drugs. This is where they're wrong. We're not for the legalization of all drugs. We are for the decriminalization of the victims of drug use. And benefits of this, as stated by drugpolicy.org, is the reduction in spending allocated to the imprisonment of nonviolent offenders and freed up space in prisons and jails in our nation for individuals that actually should be there. The money saved from this could in turn be used to prioritize health and safety over punishment of these individuals. So if the goal on both sides is to reduce the amount of people habitually using drugs, which in turn would cripple the drug market as a whole, then what is it really that you could be in disagreement about decriminalization of illicit drugs? This could provide us with more contributing members of society versus paying for their wrongful imprisonment out of our own pocket.